Off the cuff, yeah. Off the cuff, yeah. It's off the cuff, 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 yeah. It's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, yeah.
This is God ordained. Get in position, cause we on a mission, fulfilling this vision, releasing contention, and it's God we praise. The one who keeps us from falling, receiving his fullness. Who that man is awesome. You see, it's every day we celebrate. Right now it's time for us to elevate. So get your hands up, cause Hosanna's great. And see, they call it off the cuff because we tailor-made.
Off the cuff, yeah. Off the cuff, yeah.
To Off the Cuff, also known as OTC University. Let me welcome those of you that are listening to the show for the first time. I'm Bobby, and the crew is back in the house with me tonight. Go ahead and say hello, the Black Columbo, Eric.
What's up, y'all? He got a trench coat on, his pimping hat. Looks like a black Sherlock Holmes up in here.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, all right.
Good to hear from y'all.
Yeah, you sounding real sophisticated right now.
That ain't even you, player. Relax. That ain't
even you. All right. Say what's up to the people, little Chad.
Good evening.
Nah, that
Hey, you know that's not him. All right, peeps. We got a very serious show for you tonight. Tonight's topic is how you living.
How you living? How you live?
Now, I know you're asking yourselves, what is this all about? Well, let me tell you what we're really going to be talking about. We're going to discuss the relationship between nutrition and your personal health. All right, so that's the relationship we're going to be dealing with. We have the pleasure of having a special guest with us tonight. We ain't going to give you her name right now. We're going to hold out. She's going to give us an insight into some of the diseases we develop due to poor nutrition.
Tune in and get your paper ready.
Yeah. So before we jump into the topic, let's touch on the petitions.
We got to talk about
the
these
election.
petitions. What's wrong with y'all? Everybody upset because Barack Obama is back in office. He there now.
Shout.
Let it go.
I'll let you
Get behind the man so we can get some things going.
Right.
But we got all these states,
Yes.
Thousands of Americans that have actually signed petitions seeking permission for their states to do what?
Succeed.
Peacefully
Secede. Just
from
get
the
out.
United States. Now, how you going to peacefully succeed from the United States?
Break up until they
You know what I'm saying? We want to do our own thing.
The United States.
Because it's a black man back in office.
Right.
Something is wrong with that.
Can't stand it.
Yeah.
And the sad part is a lot of the states are the states that actually went for Barack Obama.
That is true.
That's pretty sad. That's
That
pretty
is true.
sad. Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina,
Wow.
North Dakota, Oregon, South Carolina, just to name a few. Tennessee and Texas, of course. I'm not surprised by some of those.
Yeah, that's a
folks.
given right there.
But just for an example, the petitions are, they're real short to the point. For example, a petition from our volunteer state, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Rocky Top, down there where they do it in orange and white. That's why they can't get nothing going on. Their petition kindly just peacefully said, peacefully grant the state of Tennessee to withdraw from the United States of America and create its own new government. Of all the petitions, Texas actually right now has the most signatures that were signed so far, with more than 23,000 petitions that are signed. Now, if you think about it, Texas has millions of people.
Right.
So that's just a handful of ignorance down there that's going on. Let's call it what it is. Okay? Y'all some stupid people. And if it's some Texas listeners right now, if you're one of them, I'm telling you that you're stupid.
Right now.
You need to let it go.
It's not nice, Chad. Don't call people stupid.
No, I'm going to call them stupid.
Well, I understand why Alabama wanted to get out because, Alabama is the way they are. I understand how they are. But Texas, I don't get it. I don't understand Texas being
I
like
say make an example out of one of them. Let them go. And when
Let
something
them go and
happens,
then do it. Yeah, then they're going to come running back.
don't come running back. Let a national disaster happen.
Right.
Don't give them no aid. Don't let FEMA go down there.
Right.
Let them get bombed by somebody. Just sit back and look at them. Make an example out of somebody.
Do
What
something.
I want to know is that when they secede from the United States, where they gonna get the money from to be their own state?
Right. Right.
I don't know.
They're gonna need.
But if we can't use a cookie cutter and dip them out and toss them out into the Atlantic or Pacific somewhere, I don't really see how you
That's
can
what
do
I
that.
say. I don't understand.
Right.
You know,
I don't understand.
we're not living in the days of Ulysses S. Grant.
Right.
You know, where we having a fight and we got all these civil wars going on from the Confederate States
Right.
and the Union.
Right.
That's just
right.
ignorance.
Don't have that. It's just
Some
crazy
dumb
to me.
people doing that. And if it's some black people on that petition, shame on you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell your grandma.
I
They
say-
did not struggle for you to be signing no petitions.
I
like
say
that.
if you succeed, give me back all your government money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the
Give me all-
cheese.
sign it
And the
off.
cheese.
And the government
Don't
cheese.
forget the cheese.
Sign it all
And the
back
government
over.
cheese. Give me all that back.
Every bit of it.
Yeah, give me
No
all that
aid,
back.
No
Yeah.
budget.
No
you on
aid,
your
none
own.
of that.
It's like a
Right?
child being in your house and saying, I want to be on my own, but you're still living in my house.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Some stuff just not
You
gonna
can't
happen.
go up in my refrigerator when
Right.
you say you want to succeed.
But don't put a child out.
You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to be grown.
can go somewhere else.
You ready to be grown?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you can't be in Montana and say you're gonna succeed.
Right.
Where you going? You almost dead center.
Right. Where you going?
United States.
Where you
Where
going? Yeah, that's
Like
right.
for real. I can see if it was Hawaii, something like that.
Right,
you
because
know.
you already out there floating.
Yeah, they already, you know.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna miss you if you out there.
Exactly.
You know, go ahead and let you do your own thing.
It don't
you
make
know.
no sense to me.
But you'll call us when that next eruption happens.
Right,
You know, some
right.
lava
That's true.
flowing on you, burning
That's
up
true.
all them leaves you got coming up the window.
Really graphic.
That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy.
All right, you know how we do it. All right, let's go ahead and get into this topic for tonight. All right,
Good
but
luck.
first, I want to introduce our guest for the evening. Her name is Miss Sharon Hawks.
Is
all
that
right?
doctor?
I think it's doctor.
Doctor
I
Sharon.
think there's a whole lot of
Good
stuff.
veteran doctor.
The good veteran doctor. No, I'm sorry. Doctor.
Her name is Miss Sharon Hawks. She is the founder and director of the Nutrition and Diabetes Education Center. All right. She is a certified diabetes educator and worked for several years as the director of diabetes education and training for Civista Medical Center in Waldorf, Maryland.
Wow.
Sharon has been consulting.
Cleveland public education is struggling, boy.
Every week. And you don't even have a Tootsie Roll in your mouth yet.
Hey,
I don't understand.
my voice is tired. Okay?
Go ahead.
Let me finish, all right?
That
Trying
excuse
to
every
introduce, okay, this fabulous woman right here. All right, so shut up and calm down, all right?
All right.
Now, Sharon has been a consulting dietitian for many years and conducts seminars and workshops for numerous government, religious, and civic organizations. Her skills include diabetes education, training and program development, individual nutrition counseling, health promotion program development, and total body wellness, mind and body. That's what I'm talking
That's
about
what
right
you're
there.
talking about.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about right
yeah,
there.
yeah, okay.
We want to welcome you to the show, Sharon, and thank you for taking the time to come out and educate our listeners. Tonight, our listeners will have an opportunity to gain some knowledge from the OTC University.
About the
Yes.
insulins. You know, your grandma tell you about the insulins.
About that sugar. You know, you can catch the sugar. You know that, right?
Thank you
Better
so
watch
much
out.
for having me.
He caught the sugar.
Now, I know there's a whole lot of people out there that are not taking care of their bodies. You know, I see it in the street all the time.
Yeah, I see it.
I see it at work. I see it in the church.
Yeah.
I see it in the office building. People just not taking care of themselves. You know, you can tell. And as a result of this, they're dying way too soon.
How can you tell they're not taking care of themselves?
Because they eat all them Tootsie Rolls like every week. A bowl of Tootsie Rolls.
Hold on.
Something is wrong with that.
Tootsie Rolls are low-fat candy, and they don't have a high fructose syrup in them.
And the
So they-
ho-hos and Twinkies you have coming in the door,
Coming in.
what about that?
Now that if I can interject,
Oh, please interject, doctor.
Jump in, doctor, we need some
Because he
education.
tends to do this.
I want to clarify, even though they don't have high fat, they got a whole lot of sugar
Do
going
they?
on.
Yeah,
Talk to him. You better talk to him. Listen
lot
to
of
the
sugar.
good doctor.
So we need to cut back. Now, let me say this. I have a master's degree in food nutrition and dietetics. I'm
Okay.
a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian, nutritionist, and a certified diabetes educator. I'm loving sitting around with this group here. You know, I don't know how I'm going to be serious here with all this fun going on, but I'm going to try.
That's great. That's great.
Now, one thing we're going to get into is I didn't know heart disease was the #1 killer in the United States, okay? Each year, more than 750,000 people have a heart attack for the first time. and more than 425,000 have a second heart attack. You know, I've heard that before.
I've heard that
You know, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, heart disease causes serious disability in people who are affected by it.
Yeah,
Okay, the most common cause of heart disease involves narrowing of the
Coronary artery.
Hold on.
Cleveland. Cleveland.
No, I need to break it down myself. Okay,
Yeah.
Break it down.
They didn't cover that on that GED exam from Cleveland.
I told y'all I'm tired.
Yeah,
The most
okay.
common
Whatever you
cause
say.
of heart disease involve narrowing of the coronary
He
arteries.
tried it again.
This can be the cause by high levels of cholesterol in the blood from poor nutrition and exercise habits.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy because the thing with cholesterol, which I've noticed, you don't know a lot about it, but I have noticed that as a friend of mine who worked out religiously, but still had high cholesterol because of what she was eating, you know. But this heart disease is a serious thing, you know. So, I mean, what are things that you've noticed about heart disease, Sharon?
Well, you know, one of the things we kind of get it twisted a little bit about what causes the high cholesterol level. And you made a point about your friend; she works out religiously. But as I remind all my patients, you can out eat any exercise program.
And I'm proof of that.
Hello? I've been eating mine for years. Hello?
I've been on the weight loss
I like
program
to go-
about a year now. Ain't lost nothing.
I'm sure I got some bad lipids up in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exercises.
Absolutely. And that's typically what happens to people. They do one thing and they think that's okay. And it's really a combination of the food and the exercise that need to be worked together. And in the black community in particular, what we consider as a good diet, y'all can
Yeah.
only imagine what's going on. So
I
I'm
don't
always
eat as much fried chicken as I used to. That's a good diet to me.
That's a good start.
Right.
Man.
Don't be hard for Eric to cut back on them chitlins.
And then I got to ask, what is moderation cutting back for you?
Yeah, that's
You
true,
know,
that
what
is
may be
true.
moderation for you may not be moderation for me.
Right.
So,
That
is
so
true.
that's some of the things we have to
That is
clarify
true.
to
Okay,
get people to understand some of the changes they need to make in their
Right.
diet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there certain things that, you know, for people that, you know, may not have the best diet that they can maybe eat in order to help, you know, combat some of the bad, you know, lipids or fats that they're taking into their bodies? 'Cause I know there are good fats and there are bad fats that you can actually take in and things of that nature. But are there certain things that you can actually eat to help combat certain things, you know, whether it be grapes or certain things like
Yeah.
antioxidants or whatever?
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing, and you've heard this over and over again, eat more brown. You know, I make the point to people, the darker, well, I won't go into the little thing we have down south. That we
Go
have.
ahead. That's how you talk about
You got me when you said eat more brown. All right. You talking about eating
You
black
know,
folk?
I always make the point that when you're looking at fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you know, we talk about darker, you know, we have this thing in the black community, we say the darker the berry.
Sweeter the juice.
So the deeper, the darker, the color of the fruits and vegetables, the better it is going to be for you. So keep that in mind. So,
That make you about sour players.
yeah, so this is when we talk about eating, you know, the red grapes versus the white grapes. When we talk about getting
I
the
like
juice.
white grapes too.
Yeah, and not that they're bad. Be clear on that. But when you want to get the best,
I
the
got you.
darker the berry,
Yeah,
the
the
darker
sweeter
the
the
deeper it is.
So
You
brown
got-
rice as opposed to white rice.
There you go. There you go.
Ah,
So brown rice versus white rice. You know, we want to go to more whole grain
Yeah.
and getting away from the white flours and the white breads.
That dark brown bread.
Yeah.
So on that
The
same
dark
note,
bread
would you
don't eat.
say
Right.
raw sugar cane as opposed to the white
Well,
granulated sugar, or it's kind of running?
That's a
the
very
same way?
good question, but I'm glad you brought that up. I know. That's when it doesn't apply. And it's a very good question. It gets asked all the time. The reality is whether it's white sugar, brown sugar, raw sugar,
Still
agave nectar, it's still sugar.
yeah.
Okay, and you need to watch how much of that you take.
Hurt my feelings.
So
Sorry.
if you were, I mean, you mentioned diet, so I'm thinking like, what would if I was a layman? Could you give me an idea what a good diet would be in a big picture?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I've come to the conclusion after many years of doing this. I know, particularly black folks, we ain't gonna do but so much.
Right.
So
That's true.
all the heads are shaking.
I'm glad
around
you
the
know
room.
that.
So here's what I've come to the conclusion of. If I can just get people to do what they're supposed to do, at least most of the time, they're all right. So everybody who know me, every talk I ever do, I talk about what I call my 80-20 principle. The goal is to do what you're supposed to do at least 80% of of the time.
Okay.
And 20% of the time you can fudge it.
That's Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I would say both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Let's just say one of those days.
All right, one of them. All right,
So the goal is to try to do what you're supposed to most of the time. So when you sit down and want to enjoy yourself with fried chicken, you can do that without worrying about it being a problem. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So we work on the process of moderation because that's what works best with our people. You know, we're all or nothing. Either we're going to do it right, or we ain't going to do it at all.
Right.
Okay. So I've learned how to meet them halfway with it, and I find that with moderation, we actually do very well. There's a misconception, particularly in our community, that we just like being fat and happy, and we don't care about our health, and that's not true. That's not true. We do care about health.
Well, though they sing.
They do. They do. You know.
They hit the highest
Yeah,
note.
that's it. That's no. Just have another chicken leg. Just
All
sing.
the time.
Woo.
But the reality is,
Lips grease and everything.
we don't want them having a heart attack in the middle of that song either, right?
Right.
So we got to work on that moderation. The issue in our community too is weight isn't so much of an issue. You know, black women, we don't mind having a little extra weight on us. So when I approach black women about their health and about their weight, I don't discuss vanity because they already think they're doing good.
I think curvy is beautiful.
Yeah.
The more curvy, the better.
Sure. So I come from a level of health.
And sometimes curvy is more like a sausage. It's not, more like the Michelin Man. It's not really a curve.
Okay.
It's more like,
Depends on my sisters, we all right.
Hey, I love the sisters. My mama big. I love you, mama. Mom. I love you. I'm just trying to look out for you right now. I love you. I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
We good.
You got it. So it really is about moderation. So we're working on trying to get people to understand how weight makes a difference with their health.
Yeah,
and when we talk about heart disease, going back to heart disease, and as we talk about diabetes later, as you know, this month is Diabetes Month.
Okay.
One of the issues is getting people to understand this is so important. And particularly, black women love to hear this. Blacks as a whole. The issue is really not about being overweight, but where you carry the weight. Okay.
Let's talk about what we're carrying the weight. I want to hear this.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Back pockets.
Carrying the weight in the midsection.
Oh, the midsection.
Muffin tops.
So muffin top.
But muffin top has become like a nice thing now.
Well, again, I don't know if it's a nice thing because that's what actually predicts health. How wide your waist is.
Yeah.
So I make the point, if you have booty do, you know what booty do is,
I
right?
know what booty do is.
Okay.
Yeah.
When your booty,
Booty do? What you know about the booty do?
when your stomach sticks out more than your booty do, then
Okay.
you know you got a problem.
Right.
Because when you carry the weight there, that's what puts you at risk. So research says, and this is medical literature, it doesn't matter how big your butt is.
Okay.
Long as the waist is down for women under 35, men under 40.
Yes.
That's what reduces your risk.
Yes.
That's the bottom
So if
line.
you got them big pants on, you know heart disease is in your neighborhood.
Well, not so much the pants. Remember, I told you to be wide as you want. It's the stomach part.
Well,
that's
they
the
wear
issue.
them up to here now,
But at the end of the day, your stomach, that's your core anyway, so that's kind of
Absolutely.
pretty much
Absolutely.
Right?
So the goal is always to try to keep that
So
in
it's
check.
the measurement around the belly button.
Well, it's actually, you want to go above the hip bone, a little bit above the hip bone. So, not like men do. They kind of measure underneath the gut.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm gonna fool myself.
Because I know some people that wear cowboy boots, and they wear them little tight jeans all the time, but their belly is big, but their jeans are small.
That's correct, because they're wearing the waistline underneath the gut.
Yeah.
And what you need to measure, particularly for men, with the larger portion of the stomach.
Okay, there you go. Wow. Where the gut.
The largest.
Not
Yes.
stomach, the
Now-
gut.
And I'm gonna jump in real quick, but I know a number of people, and I was one of them myself, still am. But there's this premise that like a glass of wine helps as far as your health and cholesterol and things of that nature. So if it's not true, don't tell me.
Okay.
If it is true, go ahead and elaborate.
Okay, yes and no. The issue is, and the American Heart Association is clear on what is acceptable for alcohol drink. For men, it's 2 drinks a day. For women, it's 1 drink. Let me clarify, you're talking about that wine. We're talking about a 4 to 5 ounce glass of wine, not the whole wine glass filled up to the top.
Watch out.
Right.
Okay.
Not how people drink that don't really know how to drink
Right,
wine that
that's
fill
right.
up the glass.
You got it.
I got you. Yeah.
So
I
we're
ain't
talking
really
a
know.
total of about 8 to 10 ounces a day. In
Right.
women, it's only 1 drink, 4 to 5 ounces a day. Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, that's not accumulative. So if you miss a day from drinking, you don't get to double up the next time.
Because I was thinking thinking if I skip 2 weeks,
No.
that I can binge one Saturday.
No. You get 2 drinks a day, period, whether you miss a day or not.
You know, the CDC lists 5 lifestyle factors that can significantly lower your risk for heart disease, and one of them is to avoid smoking. All right, which is major. Number 2 is to exercise regularly. Okay, which we definitely need to do, which I try to do. I fight to do it
Good,
sometimes.
good.
Got to fight to do it. Okay. Number 3 is maintain healthy body weight.
Well, you don't exercise.
I do exercise.
Not real guilty.
Hold on.
Yeah, you walk out the house.
Hold on.
What you talking about, man?
Preaching don't count exercise.
It does.
It's not a
No,
breathing
you
technique.
exercising your vocal cords, man.
No, preaching is, if you're a Pentecostal preacher, you exercise.
Oh, you exercise.
Yeah.
He counting
Exercising your neck,
counting them
lifting-
20 minutes of
lifting
hooping
that
as
hip hat you
exercise.
had on. That's what you're doing.
I exercise 2 to 3 times a week. Thank you very much.
Good stuff.
Okay? Now, I'm moving on.
Please.
It sound like he fit because we on the radio.
I ain't say I was fit. I just said I exercised 3 times. Number 4, limit alcohol use.
You just clarified that.
Just talked about it, okay?
Yeah.
Right? And number 5, a nutritious diet. Okay?
Absolutely.
That's like one of my main struggles right there.
And that's a struggle for most people, I think, the nutrition diet part. And the exercise, too, as well. And just to clarify a couple of these, the exercising regularly, to be clear on what is considered regular exercise, at least 30 minutes of cardio activity a day. And, you know, now, if we put it in that perspective, it doesn't seem too bad for people. But here's the rule. If you miss a day, what do you think we're going to ask you to do?
Double up.
Double up the next
You
day.
said we couldn't double up on drinking. how you gonna have that for alcohol, but you don't have it? But you don't have it. You know, I mean, come on now. Let's be fair.
Sorry.
If I miss a day
can't have
exercise, I
everything.
shouldn't have to tomorrow and do an hour.
Yeah, you have to double up. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
well, then I should be able to double up and have 16 ounces of wine.
It doesn't work that way.
Something ain't right about that.
America, something's wrong.
Yeah, that does seem a little off. I apologize for that, but those are the rules. Okay, so the 30 minutes makes it reasonable for most people, because you've heard working out an hour and a half. People get overwhelmed by that thought. The reality is, all we need is about 3.5 hours a week of cardio, and you can split that up either way you want. But here's the biggest key: don't allow more than 2 days in between your exercise sessions. So that's the only rule. Okay. So that means you got to get in at least 3 days a week. Okay. At least 3.
What happens if you allow more than 2 days?
You start to lose the benefit.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so the recommendation and keep the heart health up and the strength and the muscle tone. Don't allow a whole lot of times in between. You've heard about, you know, it takes half the time to lose a habit than it does to gain it. It's one of those things. So that's how you stay on track.
So if I can work out like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Correct.
So you need that break, because a lot of times I'll probably do boxing, and then I'll do, shut up, y'all. Shut up.
You know, getting where you ain't did no box. When you do that, when you was on the streets of Cleveland, when you was rough.
I'm starting to feel some fairy dust going on in here today.
Something ain't right up
Something
in
is
here.
going on in
Somebody
here.
painting a picture
All
that
of
ain't
a sudden, he
exactly
works
true.
out.
I know my regimen, okay?
Yes, Lord.
I ain't never heard you say nothing in the world about working
I
out.
don't
The most
take-
working out you did was changing that tie and that blue suit.
I did. I didn't work out that day. I sweated like 5 pounds off.
I know, because it was polyester. Polyester don't breathe, player. It
I
don't
did
breathe.
lose weight.
my gosh.
So if I work on like Monday, Wednesday, and I lift weights and I'll box. So I need that time in between, because they say you need time in between to
See, that's why you
muscles
rough.
grow.
Yeah, not so much the cardio you need time in team. You need time in between when you're doing strength training. Okay. And by the
Your
way,
muscles to
that
rebuild, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Now you really don't have to do it if you work like upper body versus lower body. Like a lot of times I'll go in and work full body one day, and then I know I need to skip the next day. And by the way, that 3.5 hours, I actually didn't include strength training in there.
Okay.
So the cardio. So you still need to get in about 30 minutes to an hour of strength training a week too as well. You can split those up in sessions. The 2-day rule doesn't apply with strength training.
Okay.
It applies with cardio.
Okay.
I had to say, I'm glad you ain't come in here and you was a big sausage or something trying to tell me about some health. Because I would have had a problem really listening to you. But since you look like you fit,
Right.
it's kind of going a little bit further, you know. Because if you done came in here looking like the Michelin Man or, you know,
appreciate that.
something,
It would have been tough.
Well,
We would have been looking at you like this.
Yeah.
How often do you exercise?
And practice what you preach.
How much chicken is you throwing back?
You know.
Well, I do try to practice what I preach. I think that's fair.
All right,
You know.
all right. That's good.
And there are a lot of benefits in nutrition. According to the Harvard School of Public Health, a nutritious diet full of fruits, vegetables,
That's what I gotta
and
do.
low in
I
saturated
gotta eat
fat.
more fruit,
yeah,
man.
you do, Bobby. Low in saturated fat lowers blood pressure, reduces the risk of cancer, lowers the risk of eye and digestive problems, and lower the risk of heart disease
Apples and oranges.
stroke. Your apps, keep naming them.
And some
Nutrition
grapes.
also contributes to an ideal
I'm
body
stopping
weight.
at Giants tonight.
Stop there, Bobby, please, which can further lower the risk of chronic disease.
Bobby know he ain't getting nothing but watermelon. Quit playing.
This is not the time of the year for it. Yeah. You know, the issue with fruit, though, you can get by with just a couple pieces of fruit a day. We used to give that thing about you need 5 to 10 pieces of
right.
fruit
I
a
used to
day.
hear that.
The reality is you can mix fruits and vegetables. They contain a lot of the same nutrients.
Right.
So here's the rule to make it easy for you. When you're eating half of your plate vegetables, 1/4 meat, 1/4
Can they be
starch.
fried?
1/4 meat.
Nothing fried.
They can't be
That
fried.
just sounds
Yeah,
crazy.
and we call this- we
one
call
fourth
this-
of my plate meat.
They're only 1/4. That's what's killing us because typically we have half of the plate meat.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna continue that way.
So
I can
we'll
reduce
cut
the
down.
starch.
So I've
Yeah.
heard people say things about getting off of red meat. Is that a real, true reality to help us be more healthy?
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about red meat, we're talking about pork, lamb, those type of
Pork!
things. You
Talk
want to
about
cut down on the amount. Now, again, I told you, over the years, I've come to a happy medium with my patients,
Please
and that's
don't
why
tell me I
they.
can't have no pork.
No, well, this is why they do
Can't
so
have no
well.
pork.
My patients do very well in losing a lot of weight because I realize that when you go to the extreme, people don't follow through.
is right.
And the recommendation is you can stay healthy by eating one serving of pork or a red meat a week. And most people go for that. If they know
do
they can
that.
sit down and have that at least once a week. But you're going to do good all the other times. Remember 80-20. But one time you get to sit down and have red meat once a week.
Okay, 5 guys.
Well, that's a little extreme.
If you eat that pork for you.
That's a heart attack in a bag.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
But I like the feeling that I have
I know, right?
afterwards.
I do too.
Oh,
I
man.
like
Five
Five Guys.
guys, man,
Yeah.
they eat a big bag of
I
fries.
left
Yeah.
the McDonald's and Burger King
Yeah.
and Wendy's alone because I know their meat comes over here. It's
Well-
like 6 months old already.
Well, really,
But-
I mean, I saw somebody with a bag of from Five Guys, and the bag was covered with grease.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to wonder if the bag is greasy. What must
Right,
be
yeah,
inside of that bag?
Right, Dr. Sharon.
That just means double up on your wine intake. Let's work together.
Spoken like a true brother. It's
work
always raised to override the system.
Hey, let's work together.
So you, man.
But let's talk about this diabetes now. What is diabetes? Well, diabetes occurs when your body does not produce enough insulin or does not respond properly to insulin. You know, this is said by, Medline Plus. According to Medline Plus, type 2 diabetes is far more common than type 1 and occurs in adults whose pancreas does not make enough insulin to keep the blood sugar levels normal, usually because the bodies do not respond properly to the insulin. Researchers agree that an incidence of type 2 diabetes is increasing with the population's weight.
Yeah.
So be careful.
I'm
Eric.
trying to help you.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. A study in the Archives of Internal Medicine reports that the regular consumption of sweetened soft drinks and fruit drinks are associated with an increased risk of type 2
That's not a Mountain
diabetes
Dew.
in African American women.
I just had 2 Mountain
So lay
Dews
out the
today.
sodas,
Yeah.
ladies.
And if I can make a point
Absolutely.
right there, they're actually only talking one soda a day. Drink one soda a day. The research says
okay.
increase your risk for
So-
diabetes type
Wow,
2, by the
one
way,
soda.
by 50%.
Wait a minute, okay.
We haven't
What?
even got into your genetic component yet.
So
Just
you have
the-
one a day.
one soda a day.
You
Increase your risk for having type 2 diabetes by 50%.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's significant.
Pray for me,
That
America. Please pray for me. I got a Coke out in the car right now.
Probably
Yeah.
cut Bobby bleed soda.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, and the issue about the weight is going back to what I said earlier. What drives type 2 diabetes? They talk about the issue that the body is not responding to the insulin. By the way, insulin is a hormone that helps to regulate the blood glucose levels.
Right.
And so how this ends up being a problem is because of something called insulin resistance. Now, what causes the body to resist the insulin? In other words, keeps the insulin from doing what it's supposed to do? Central obesity. Back to what I said
Back to what you
before.
said.
Back to the midsection.
Back to the midsection. It always go back to the gut.
Man, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
it.
good.
That's it. So by keeping the weight, if you have the family history of it, you got to work very hard to get that central obesity down and keep it down. The beautiful news is
And it doesn't matter if somebody's jumping in there and they're trying to go get some liposuction because they heard the show.
beautiful. I'm glad you said that because there's two types of fat on the body. It's kind of hard to explain on the radio, but the type of fat that causes the problem with health, and not, by the way, not only just diabetes, but heart disease, stroke, cancers too as well, is something called visceral fat. And this fat kind of intertwines itself in the tissue. So liposuction wouldn't get rid of it.
Wow, because it's in the tissue.
It's intertwined.
Yeah,
Liposuction only takes the fat off the surface.
Right.
So the only way to get rid of that
So you
fat,
get some more chicken in you.
yeah,
You
it's
gotta
the old-fashioned way. You got to work it
Exercise,
off.
work it off.
You got to
Work
work
it
it off.
off.
The
Okay.
good news that surprised most people is that the easiest way to lose is actually the stomach weight.
Is it?
Not for me.
Okay.
Everybody's always shocked by that. Every time, and this is on a daily basis, I'm working with patients who lose a lot of weight. They'll come in and say, how the weight loss going? The first thing they do is grab their belt. Okay, we don't feel like it's that we're losing it in the gut unless we got a six-pack going
Yeah,
on.
that's true.
But
Right.
the reality is we done lost 3, 4, 5 inches
Right.
in the waist, but we won't be satisfied until we're back to 20.
Yeah.
Okay, what our weights look like at 20.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when that weight starts to come off at the center, it automatically is going to reduce your risk for heart disease, stroke, and diabetes.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That's
Thank you for that. You dropping some knowledge. I
I
appreciate you.
think she dropping it.
Appreciate you.
Man, I gotta pull that coke out. I got in the car.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll be back. I'm gonna go pour it out.
Man, sit down.
Okay, well, I'm back.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention characterizes the United States as an obesogenic.
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 That's a different word. Obesogenic society.
Obesogenic
That's the fat people society.
That is correct.
Right there. That's about right though.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
agree with that because if you go over to Europe, you don't see a whole bunch of obese people.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Meaning that the environment generally promotes eating too much, consuming unhealthy food, and getting too little physical activity. The predisposition is that contributing to the nation's twin epidemics in obesity and diabetes. Fast food, obesity, and diabetes are
McDonald's.
interwoven in this obesogenic landscape. Americans eat more fast food than ever before, and those foods are laced with excessive calories and fat, which packs on the body fat.
Absolutely.
According to the National Diabetes Information Clearinghouse, 80% of diabetics are overweight. Now, what are some of the things you've seen or noticed about diabetes?
Well,
Sharon?
you've kind of said a lot of it already, and that's the bottom line. They're all intertwined. And I make the point, here's the beautiful thing, as you fix one, you correct the others.
Right.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's the beautiful
yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
as the blood sugar starts to go down, as you start to lose the weight, the central obesity, your risk for heart disease lowers, your cholesterol goes down, your blood pressure improves, all these things at the same time. And what's happening is we have such a big epidemic with obesity in the black community. You take research suggests that 80% of African American women over age 40 are overweight.
80%?
Okay. Now, if you disagree with me, sit on any chair.
don't know. I see that every day.
Oh, y'all have to go there now. Come on now. Y'all got to be so
The skirts are
agreeable.
getting bigger, but they're still bigger.
You don't have to be so agreeable.
I'm just saying.
When I go to
see.
work, I see it. Every day.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah, and sit on any church pew on Sunday and watch them go up to the offering plate.
Offering plate?
Yeah, and so with all seriousness, it's a major issue in our community. So that's what's driving the diabetes, the heart disease, and all these different problems we're having in our community, and it's related to that.
At the gym that I go to, not the one Eric goes to, but the one I go
Yeah,
to.
the invisible gym.
I noticed that there are a lot of older gentlemen that are diagnosed as diabetics, and they spend a lot of time in the sauna, and they do this whole sweating routine, and they all have this, distended bellies and all that. But I'm just wondering, that's not exercise? That's not helping them.
Not at all.
Keep
in mind that the body is anywhere from 60 to 75% water.
Right.
So when you go into the sauna, you're going to get rid of water. So they get up on the scale, they lost a few pounds, but all they've lost is water weight. There's nothing to do with metabolic, with the body, how the body's functioning, anything. Some would suggest that's unhealthy to do that too as well.
I see a bunch of
Okay,
them.
yeah, it happens a
Look like
lot.
sumo wrestlers in there, this big, this long. I'm like, what y'all doing? And a lot of them say that they do this, as a part of their exercise regimen. but I never could see how that would help them.
Yeah.
But
No.
I would tell you now, just from some research I did myself, if they just let some of these dudes know, and some of these brothers know that, you know, that high blood pressure and that diabetes is going to affect their Johnson,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're straighten up.
You know,
Because
really.
you can't use, if you try to go to use it and it don't work, that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to 'em, Sharon.
And in fact, one of the number one causes of impotent in men is diabetes. And what's interesting is a lot of men with diabetes don't know that. So when I sit down with them, you know, and it's always this thing when I'm discussing it with them, because, you know, man, it's sensitive for you guys to discuss it.
Yeah.
But they discuss it with
And
me
they
because-
discuss it with you like who? Like, yeah.
Yeah, all the time. You know, all the time. You know, so but the thing is
Is there anything wrong with Harris? Well, it's my diabetes.
Well, they know she don't want them, so it don't really matter.
Well, I don't start off that way. I actually bring it up myself
Okay,
because I know
right.
they will not. Okay, and I do a group class on diabetes education, and it makes it easier when you're talking in a group. When you know I'm talking in general,
Sure,
and then when we sit down for our one-on-one meetings, that's the first thing they want to go into. Can we fix it?
Can I get a
you know?
fix?
So
You get pills in your pocket.
yeah, but they find that the issue, now there's two things here. The diabetes can cause a problem with poor circulation on why they're having a problem. And so they know if they can get the blood sugar under control,
That's right.
they're not going to have a problem.
Right.
The other thing is, though, a lot of people don't realize that when they have a problem, that it actually may be related to heart disease. Now, keep in mind, when you have blocked arteries in the
Sure.
heart,
Blood's
you
not
can
flowing.
have blocked arteries in the penis, too, as well.
yeah.
Right.
So a lot of times they're going to get medication, borrowing their friend Viagra and all that stuff, not
right.
realizing that
Wow.
that they have a different issue going on. And so a lot of times their heart disease is diagnosed because of that problem.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's
are
a person.
I'm not trying to risk priapism. I'm telling you that right now.
A person that's been diagnosed with type 2, is it more likely that their children are at risk as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's almost here's what's interesting. I would ask a patient when I'm teaching a class, which relative, first degree relative, do you think gives you your greatest risk of developing diabetes if they get diabetes? So I throw out the mother, the father, the grandmother, grandfather, your siblings,
Sure.
okay, and then your children. Which one of those getting diabetes tells you your greatest risk? Who do you think it is?
Mother.
Everybody think it's mother.
Father, I think it would be the father.
I thought it would be the
Or the grandfather.
It's actually your siblings.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you have to understand that your makeup is coming from two genetic backgrounds, your mother and father's.
Right.
So how do you know if it passed through the genetic line? If one of the siblings get it. If one of the siblings get it, it's on.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So I make
Gotta
sure
call
that they
my
know.
sister tonight.
Yeah. So if you have a sibling
Is
with
you all right,
diabetes,
girl?
you really got to work hard at it because it's probably coming. I see whole families from oldest
Yeah,
to
I've
the
seen
youngest
that.
down.
I've definitely seen that. I've definitely
Now,
seen that.
good news though, what we haven't addressed here while we're getting all
We got
worked
the
up,
good news.
diabeute can absolutely be prevented. We know
right.
for sure
Yeah,
we
sure
can
can.
do this.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is why you need to know your family history so you can work to prevent it.
Okay, type 1 and type 2, right? There's two different
Yeah,
types.
type 1, believe it or not, we used to think type 1 was the most genetic. This is the one that's related to the pancreas is not producing little or no insulin.
Okay.
But type 2 is the most genetic. And this one comes more from family and then lifestyle. Lifestyle, what I love to say is with type 2 diabetes, genetics starts the car, but lifestyle drives it.
Okay. That's
Right,
good.
okay.
I'm about to write that down.
Start the car, drive the car.
You know,
Break it down.
I'm a southerner.
Sharon breaking it
Well,
down.
you know, I'm a southerner. We got analogy for everything.
That's right. That's right.
So let me ask just a quick question before we move on. Okay. Now I stopped eating fast food like McDonald's and Burger King and all that type of stuff, right? But so in my mind, I'm like, to me, I love Chick-fil-A, and I think Chick-fil-A to me now is better than
Processed
all of those
chicken.
things. All right, I don't think it's processed chicken. I saw the documentary, Bobby. Thank you. Okay, so but what I noticed was that I was just eating Chick-fil-A. I just go and get Chick-fil-A because it doesn't make me feel as full afterwards. But then I noticed.
You look like you fool.
Then I noticed that the sodium level in it
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
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 And it's on white bread.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that I asked a question, and you know we're going to discuss a little bit about hypertension about the issue because they're all related, by the way. The cholesterol, the hypertension, diabetes. And by the way, diabetes, they believe, is not a condition within itself, but it's actually a syndrome. Whenever you see someone with diabetes, you're never going to see diabetes alone. Wow. They're going to have the weight issue, they're going to have the elevated cholesterol, and or the high blood pressure. They all come together. So know as we're discussing this, we're discussing everything together. Now, if you want to ask me, outside of diabetes and weight, what is our biggest issue in the United States is our salt intake. You know, I have patients come in and they would say to me, you know, have you seen that they're putting the calories up on the menu at Chipotle's? You know, they're putting the calories up there. Isn't that great? I said, I'm not impressed. Yeah. I would not be impressed if they put the salt up there. And if they do, they will freak you out. There are some dishes. Now, I'm just not singling out Chick-fil-A. I'm talking fast food as a whole. There are some meals that have twice the allowance of your day of salt in it, in one meal.
One meal.
You know, you go to somewhere and get a bowl of soup, and you got your whole day allowance in one bowl of soup. Ooh.
Go to Panera if you feel like it.
Panera, that French onion
get that soup.
There it is.
It's high.
There it is. There it is.
Sodium.
Yeah.
So it's all about moderation, going back to what you were saying, Eric. The issue is, and again, I told you I'm a realist now. I've gotten to the point now. My goal is to help as many people as I can, not to try to put it out there like if they got to be perfect at it, because we're not going to do it. Right. So how can I get them to a happy medium? I know people are going to eat out. So the main thing I focus on when they're eating out is to make sure they eat in moderation. If you're going to go and have a hamburger, don't have the large fries and the chocolate shake to go with it. Okay? Are you following me?
Right.
You know, if you're going to go to Chick-fil-A and get a sandwich, you know, have the fruit cup along with it. And definitely don't get the lemonade or the sweet tea.
Well, let me tell you, Eric actually gets the shake with his number one.
I do not.
What did you talk about?
I just started getting the fruit cup with I only get 8 nuggets.
How did I know you was going to say that you get the fruit cup?
And I do get the sweet tea. I must confess.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that's the biggest one. I personally believe there's a conspiracy out to kill us all. With the McDonald's sweet tea, $1 for 32 ounces.
That tea's
I
so
agree
good.
with that. Tea is the
it's the bomb, man.
And by the way, when we're talking about soda, soft drink,
$2.19.
we were actually including sweet tea and lemonade in there too as well.
But you didn't say that earlier.
Well, I'm clarifying now.
Thank you for your clarification, Doc. Because I was thinking I'm going to throw out my Coke and go get a sweet tea.
I'm glad I clarified that.
I don't even know. I don't want to ask nothing else.
All right, let's change the subject.
We walking around looking like a Rwandan refugee.
I'm tired. My mind is messed up. Let's talk about the ladies for a minute, because there's some things ladies have to deal with too.
Right.
It makes me a little queasy to even read some of this stuff, but let me get started.
We got to deal with it.
All right. All right. So the issue we want to talk about now, I won't be personally affected by it, but I have a wife and a daughter who experiences this reality every month. Thank you, Lord. Okay. And I've heard women discuss how bad cramping is and how heavy the blood flow can be during those menstrual cycles. During the menstruation, your hormone levels shift and you lose up to 1/4 cup of blood, tissue, and fluid, according to the family education. For some women, those changes bring on cramping, pain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. For others, menstruation triggers anemia and shortage of iron. Careful attention to diet and nutrition during this time can help alleviate negative symptoms and avoid menstrual-related nutrition deficiencies. Some women, especially women with heavy menstrual flows, experience iron deficiencies during menstruation. This anemia can resolve itself shortly after menstruation ends or may persist on into an indefinite basis. Women need at least 15 milligrams of iron per day to prevent anemia. My wife's anemic. Yeah, and I go through this a lot.
Yeah, and the truth is, she's probably need to be on a supplement. One of the things, can we get it in the food? Sure we can. But a lot of times, some women who bleed a lot heavier than others, they may need to do a supplement. But a lot of them complain about taking a supplement. I don't know if she said this to you, but it can cause a little constipation.
Oh,
okay.
So she spent some time, You all right in there?
But here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing. Some of the research suggests that magnesium may help with reduce the symptom of PMS and also the cramping during our menstrual cycle. And the interesting thing is magnesium also is a natural laxative. So the nice thing is I tell them to kind of take that along with it. Another thing they want to make a note, when they're taking iron, they need to take it in relationship to vitamin C. Actually helps the absorption of iron. Okay. So they're going to need to take a good vitamin C supplement along with that.
And I'm not as simple as I look, so you just school me. I look simple, but I ain't.
You know, interesting thing, you seldom see anemia in men. And when I do, I had a patient in the other day who was anemic. When I see anemia in men, I get very concerned. Because it's very rare, that means something's going on in the body that's wreaking havoc. And they need to get to the doctor soon to figure out what it is. So a lot of times men who are anemic, they need to be concerned. Women not so much, because we know we lose blood. And which the same thing goes for women who's menopausal, meaning that they no longer have a period. They shouldn't be experiencing anemia either. And they do not need to take extra iron once they're menopausal.
So you said they should be taking magnesium?
Yeah, well, magnesium is good for a lot of different things with the body, so I usually just recommend magnesium be one of the things that women take along. We're talking about iron in particularly here, but magnesium, even though it helps with the menstrual cycle, it is also a nutrient that is good to take on a regular basis.
Because I've seen it at GNCs, and I've seen it in some places, like 100 milligrams a day.
Yeah, about 200. About 200 milligrams a day of magnesium. And the other
what would you recommend that men take? Because, I want to know what's going on.
Well, here's the thing. We talk about the fact of whether vitamins and minerals are needed at all, and there's research that go back and forth. And I think the research that was done lately that suggests that vitamins don't extend your life at all, I think is a very flawed research, because they was only looking at the issue of heart disease. The reality is when we're looking at different areas, of course it helps. If I ask a patient, the patient asks what should they be taking, I'm a purist. I don't believe you need to be taking 100 different things and spending a whole lot of money on vitamins and minerals. But the average person needs a good multivitamin, because we're just not getting in all we need to get. So a basic multivitamin
is not in that Tootsie Roll, man.
I didn't even realize I was eating this.
I know.
I'm sorry, it just slipped.
It's vitamin C, right? It's what you call it. It's dark.
All sugar.
There you
all
go.
Sugar. And so along with the multivitamin, my recommendation as well, this is probably the biggest one, and whenever I speak, I always want to touch on this for the black community, is vitamin D. Vitamin D is probably nutrients that it's been researched so much over the last 5 years, it's just over the top, that the research, what they found is frightening of what happens when you're deficient in vitamin D. We used to think vitamin D was only used to strengthen the bones. They have linked its deficiencies from everything from diabetes to obesity to cancer. Wow. So now, why is this such an issue in the black community? He has his hand up. I'm not sure why he has his hand
like everybody
up.
on the radio right now.
I'm not sure why he has his hand up, so I better stop. Yeah.
When you brought up vitamin D, like, I left whole milk alone like a long time ago. So I drank like 2% milk, but it doesn't have like the same amount of like vitamin D and stuff like that.
I need to clarify something for you right now.
School me right now. I need to
right now. I'm scared.
First off, 2% milk isn't a low-fat milk. You don't make a difference till you go to 1% or below. So you still drink a very high-fat milk. And the other misconception is that when you go to a lower-fat milk, you have less nutrients. The fact is that skim milk has more calcium, riboflavin, and protein than whole milk.
You better say that, baby girl.
Yeah, that's a very big misconception.
So you recommend 1% milk?
I actually recommend skim milk. But
it's almost still like water. That's it.
It's like water. It mess up my frothy flakes.
And it take me back to when I was little and we was cold and wasn't enough milk, and my mom said, "You better add some milk to that, boy. Add some water to that, pour it in that cereal." You know,
my Cheerios.
Canned milk and water.
Here's the thing.
Carnation and water.
All day.
I love it. Research says if you can switch over to skim milk for a month without complaining,
today,
for a month, you won't go back. It's just like anything else; you acquire a taste for it. So again, you're going to taste the difference. Research I actually saw this experiment done. They took whole milk 2% and skim milk, and they blindfolded the person. had them to taste different ones. They ate things in between, so they couldn't remember the taste of one. And only 20% of people could tell the difference between whole milk and skim milk.
Right, I'm sold.
I would know. So I
they
have a very
believe-
distinguished
Well,
palate.
no.
I know I would know.
What they believe it is sensory perception. When you see watery and you see what you look like blue, the mind say it ain't gonna be good.
Right.
But when you put the blindfold on, they actually could not tell the difference.
Wow, that's really good.
I'm gonna try it though, because you know,
Okay,
I'm trying to live.
so try it. Now, going along with that, the RDA for vitamin D for the longest have been 400 IUs. New research is saying we're nowhere near close to what we really need. They recently just raised the RDA up until 600 IUs. Really? I still personally, as a nutritionist, dietitian, don't believe that even that's enough. So I recommend my patients take anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 IUs a day.
Wow.
Okay. Now here's the reason why. Why you got 2/3? Well, research says 2/3 of African Americans are vitamin D deficient. Looking at my practice, is higher. I seem to think it's more 3/4 or more.
Yeah.
Here's why. Most people can't figure out why they're deficient. Well, let me explain. Vitamin D is actually the one nutrient that the body has ability to make on its own by your exposure to sunlight. So we already see what the problem is, right? We don't like to be out in the sun. Black people, we ain't going out
So
there.
white people that's tanning ain't never deficient.
Well, technically, but see, they don't want to be out in the sun either too much now because
they
of
wanna
what?
look like
Sun
cancer.
cancer.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense? Now, that's not the only thing that's making it difficult for us. First off, we don't like to be out in the sun. Here's the other issue. If you have any melanin in your skin that causes it to be darker, we're not going to make vitamin D efficiently enough. So where the Caucasian only needs about 20 to 25 minutes a day of sunlight in order to make enough D, the African American needs anywhere from 40 minutes to over an hour a day. Okay, so this is why we're so deficient.
So them bright folks is struggling.
No, well, actually, the bright folks aren't struggling as much as us darker skin.
Oh, yeah.
But nevertheless, any kind of melanin in their skin, they're gonna still have a problem. They're gonna still have a problem.
Man, that's good.
Okay,
Man.
so it's just a recommendation that my patients, everyone, take that vitamin D. People complain of achy joints, everything from vitamin D
Magnesium,
deficiency.
C, and D.
Well, C, not so much. C, if you take an iron, okay, you need that. By the way, a good multivitamin has most of this in there. It just doesn't have enough D in it. That's why you need to take that separate. Some of your multivitamins may have at least 200 to 400 milligrams of the magnesium, so you don't need to take that separate. But the D is almost a given. They're not going to have enough D.
Doc, have you ever looked at the men's vitamin pack?
Right.
It's like 8 horse pills.
Exactly. I'm not a fan of vitamin packs at all because I think you're paying a whole lot of money for a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
You can get a good multivitamin over the counter. No need to go to
I just need one
JNC. It's
pill.
Shackley's. No
Give me
offense to
all
people
them pills.
selling Shackley. But again, you need a good multivitamin, one with a high absorbability rate, and then take that D separately. And then all the other ones are dependent on what kind of deficiencies you have.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, man.
All right,
Finish
but
the
then
multivitamins
Get this
tomorrow.
last one, man. This one's gonna scare me. Go
Go
ahead.
Before we wrap this thing, we gotta touch on prostate health. Okay,
Excellent.
the prostate is a gland that makes up part of the male reproductive system and is essential for the sexual health of men. A damaged or diseased prostate can have adverse health effects, such as an enlarged prostate leading to difficulty urinating, sexual dysfunction.
That ain't so.
Sexual dysfunctions, and possibly prostate cancer. All right. In a 2010 study published in the Journal of Nutrition Biochemistry, researchers found that vitamin C supplementation prevents abnormal prostate growth, which may reduce the risk of developing side effects associated with the enlarged prostate and promotes the overall health and function of the prostate gland. That really scares me, that prostate thing, you know what I'm saying?
A big thing in the black community with black men, the biggest issue with prostate, I think, in the black community is that we don't go and get exams because we don't want people touching us.
But Doc, let me ask you something. I was recently at an appointment, right? And my doc says to me, "Do you want to have your prostate examined?" And I said, "Well, I've read some things about it where some examinations people are having, it doesn't really tell you that there are prostate issues."
Well, you need the exam, and then they also need to do the PSA. Now, that's a blood test. So you need to make sure they run that on an annual basis.
Okay,
And that may be what they're alluding to.
test.
Okay. But you still need the exam. There's certain things they can feel around there.
I don't want them feeling around.
Go ahead and hold your breath there. I told you last another show to get you a female doctor. You ain't listen to me. You better learn. Get you a female doctor.
There you go.
But again,
That's trying to have Ramon back there. You don't know what's up.
you guys are great. Let me say, going back to what also helps prevent prostate cancer, we also know the diet, once again, plays a big role in this. So one of the issues with men, the high beef intake, red meat as a whole, eating a lot of that, and then not eating enough fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Again, we talked about the vitamin, you just talked about vitamin C, but one of the biggest other issues is the issue with something called lycopene. And lycopene is found in tomatoes. Okay, so this has been shown to help to reduce your risk too as well. And by the way, the tomato needs to be cooked to get the lycopene to be released at its fullest. So spaghetti sauce, even ketchup, help at a certain level. Don't go crazy.
And you have some fried green tomatoes. Because now I just added
Here
some
we go again.
cholesterol.
Absolutely. So again, all these different things work together. From what we've talked about, the basics to staying healthy is doing a diet high in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and nuts, exercising regularly, wine on occasion, in moderation. Okay, and we haven't addressed one of the other big things, and particularly with men and women in the Black community, is stress. I think that's another area that at some point we're going to have to address significantly, because there's a lot of research suggesting that a lot of our problems are stemming back to our stress levels. So
we're going to have to get you back on the
That's
show.
what my
that's a whole nother topic. We won't go there.
Well, my whole family got heart disease.
Really?
I'm not joking. My grandmother died from heart disease. My mom died from heart disease.
Sorry to hear that.
So I have this real heightened sense of exercise and trying to eat better and all that. You know, so this does help me a lot, because my sister just recently told me that she thinks she might have heart disease. So I mean,
in genetics, but let me say this to you, and I think this is what I need to leave with the audience. Research has made a very good point about genetics, because one of the things that happened in the Black community, we just figure my mama got it, my daddy got it, and I'm gonna get it.
Right.
Here's what research says: we have the ability to manipulate the genes. Okay. So along with that, what they've determined is genetics only predicts about 30% of outcome. Lifestyle dictates 70%. But here's the thing, though: if you don't put the lifestyle things in place, guess what? Genetics gonna get you.
30% gonna get you.
Okay.
Love's gonna get you.
Yeah. So I like those odds.
Okay.
We have a lot of control of what actually happens. We can manipulate those genes to the positive. But be clear: if you do nothing to alter what genetics is telling you, you're gonna be right into the same.
Wow, it's gonna get you.
Your new mail is in.
We got a mailbox question.
Your new mail.
Who's taking this? You got it?
The moderator ought to take it.
The moderator?
All right.
This throat hurts.
Right.
Got it. I'll read it. Get on my nerves.
All right, here we go.
Spit the Tootsie Roll out.
The Bible states that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So why is the church so judgmental when an individual's sin becomes public, like teen pregnancy, homosexuality, and an affair? Ooh,
Take your time, Bobby.
I know. Is it the place of the church to condemn the individual, or does their title make a difference?
Okay.
Anonymous, that's all it says.
Yeah.
You read it. You answered.
I'm going to let Reverend Deacon Dr. Doug
Oh,
start.
you're a pastor. What you gonna
Well, I know, but let's go with it.
I'll chat a
Doug,
little bit of it though.
Doug.
Then this is my opinion. What I see.
ahead.
First of all, we know that some things that happen in the church are just, you can see them, like pregnancy or homosexuality and affair, especially if it gets out, you can see those type of things. But the Bible does talk about the saints judging one another, and I think we get judging and condemning mixed up. When you're a saint, if you're in right standings, then you can correct somebody, it's still with love, and tell them, hey, I noticed I saw you, stepping out on your wife. You want to talk about it? Y'all got problems, something like that. But when you condemn, it's a different story. Condemning to me is almost like you're putting them in hell, based on something they did, and you possibly doing the same thing. So I think that's the difference right there. If you're correcting somebody in love because you're stronger than this individual at that point, I think then you have the right to sort of judge. But I think we get that judge and condemn thing, sort of mixed up. And to me, your title don't make a difference. Title is just a man-made thing. When it comes to God, there are no titles.
That is true.
Basically, so that's my take on it.
And I think that people always, and this is just, I think, normal in human nature, we always give people with titles a pass.
Right.
We always do. The pastor can do what he do and somehow come back to preach the following Sunday.
Right.
And we'll just pray for him and let him come on back because that's the pastor.
Right.
So that we've always made the man of God at a different standard than we put ourselves at. That's just natural. But the reality is what you said, Eric. God has a standard, and that standard is not to condemn.
Right.
We all know right from wrong.
That's
That's because all have sinned and come short. So teen pregnancy is no different than the homosexuality.
No different.
It's no different than the affair. But we make it different. We do. Man makes it different.
Right.
But God doesn't do that. And also, God doesn't walk around with rocks in his pocket. What I mean by that, God's not throwing stones at you. God's not doing that. God is not about condemning you and judging you and throwing you out.
Right.
Because I believe that when God loves you, he loves you till the end. He doesn't love you part-time. He doesn't love you only when you're doing good. He doesn't love you only when you're doing bad. He loves you the same always. So I think this person that wrote this question has to deal with that reality of God's love toward them.
Right.
Stop worrying about God's love, how people are dealing with a pastor. Don't worry about that, because you go to a different church, it's going to be a different issue.
Different issue, right.
But you have to deal with the reality of how God loves you. And if you can't sit in those pews and deal with that reality, go somewhere else. Because, people
at the end of the day, you got to deal with yourself.
That's right.
That's all it boils down to. I don't care what
we
somebody
talked
said
about, that Creflo slap, right?
Right.
When Creflo choked his daughter, it wasn't no buses leaving Creflo Ministries. Right? Well, the same is true. That's his issue.
It was a couple Mercedes that pulled off.
A couple Benzes, probably,
But if you got teenage children, you kind of know how you got there.
Exactly. Come on now.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's how I see it. All right. I don't know if we answered this question, but I think he just really needs to get connected with his love and how God loves us. All right, let's hit the contest, man. Go ahead.
All right. Check it out. All right. We got this new contest in place, and this contest is hot. So listen up, y'all. All right.
Read it slow, because they be tripping when you read.
You must be a follower of the show to qualify for this contest. Go to www.spreaker.com. Right. Sign up with your email address.
Type in www.spreaker.
Right, not two W's.
Type in off the cuff in the search box and then click on the follower button. And that will make you a part of the OTC University family, because we are a university, okay? We will be choosing a winner each week. That winner will be put in a drawing to win a $50 Visa gift card.
That don't mean you win. That means you be put in a drawing to win.
Now, if we call your name as one of the weekly winners, you have 1 week from the day we call your name to respond. If we do not hear from you within that 1 week, you forfeit your eligibility to win the $50 Visa gift card, but you still qualify for the grand prize, okay? We will be choosing the winner of the $50 Visa gift card every first Sunday of the month, all right? But hold on, because there's even more to this contest. And Little Chad is going to come and tell you about the big surprise, all right? Take it away, Little Chad.
Well, what I would like to say to you today is that every 3 months, all of our Visa gift card winners will be put into a drawing to have the opportunity to be a guest host on the show with the men of Off the Cuff. And y'all see we have a good time. Shannon, did you have a good time?
I had a good time.
See, we have a good time. Now, look, y'all know how we roll. Y'all kind of saw how we get down. So we keep it all the way 100 up in this piece. Say peace, Eric. You know how to say peace?
Peace.
Spell
I
it.
know how to say Peace.
No, that was the wrong piece, Eric. That was the wrong piece, but that's all right. So if you're chosen to be a guest host, be ready to keep it off the cuff.
It sure was.
I knew I was gonna catch you.
I can spell peace. P-E-A-C-E.
Right. This ain't war. This ain't war. Okay? Our first grand prize winner will be chosen, so make sure you get registered now if you want to be a part of what we do. Now, the past winners from the last contest that actually claimed their prizes will be included in this drawing. So it's time to.
All right,
time
we got
to
a
read.
winner. Miss Sharon, Dr. Sharon's gonna draw the winner. All right, Miss
And the
Sharon.
winner is Curtis Williams.
Curtis Williams.
Curtis
Mayfield.
Curtis.
Curtis
Curtis.
Williams.
Curtis Williams. All right.
Curtis.
You know Curtis Williams?
I don't know.
Hit us up, Curtis. Hit us up.
Curtis, yeah, he'll probably hit us up.
Come on, Curtis.
All right.
All right. Go
Well,
ahead.
we want to thank you, Sharon, for being a part of
Yes,
this show
we do.
tonight. Man, you
welcome.
gave us so much knowledge. You know, brought our spirits down a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think it's going to help us.
You gotta pour that Coke out.
And I'm
Sweet
sure
I don't want nobody to eat red
And the
meat.
sweet tea.
No McDonald's tea.
and I'm sure you have enlightened many of our listeners. Okay. Now, if you want more information about your nutrition health, you can go to her website, which is www.nutrition-diabetes.com. That's www.nutrition- that's a symbol dash, not the word
Or
dash.
a hyphen,
okay?
whichever
Or
you want to
hyphen,
call it.
diabetes.com. Okay. Now she has a nutrition and diabetes center located right here in the area. All right. It is located in Glendale, Maryland. All right. If you would like to make an appointment or have any questions, you can call her on 301-805-8292. 301-805-8292. Y'all, please, y'all know y'all need help. Okay, we just gave you the number. Blow this woman's business to pieces. We want her to hire more people.
Some more people.
All right, so that if she needs some more business, and you know
You can help Obama
pick up the phone.
employ a few folks.
Pick up the phone.
All right, man. Well, good job. Good job. I appreciate you, man. So with that said, see you back here, what, next week?
Yeah, same place, same time.
Well, we keep it real.
Wow.
God loves it.
Don't say nothing.
I'm not.
And we out.
We out.
I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
Yeah,
We don't know how to shut up. What are you
I
talking
want to
about?
steal your thunder,
You
man.
jumped right in there real quick. Like, I thought he forgot.
Because I paused or something.
Yeah, oh, he forgot the word out.
It's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, yeah. It's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff, it's off the cuff,
This is
yeah.
God ordained. Get in position, cause we on a mission, fulfilling this vision, releasing contention in this God we praise. The one who keeps us from falling, receiving this faultless. Who that man is awesome. You see, it's every day we celebrate. Right now it's time for us to elevate. So get your hands up, cause Hosanna's great. And see, they call it off the cuff because we tailor-made.
Off the cuff, yeah. Off the cuff, yeah.
This has been an IBG production.